One, it's just amazing to see you.
Ditto.
We're thankful that you're doing this. I mean, so with No Formula, we started this podcast last year, and it was just based off the response that we got just from some of our posts, and we just wanted to give people like hope that never give up on yourself, never give up on love. It's always God's plan, not necessarily our plan. And so obviously for us and our journey, hey girl, you gotta stop it. But in the process of doing that, we were like, it's so many amazing stories out there. There's so many people that have followed, had their formula, which is an unorthodox plan, and it's been God's plan. And so like when we thought about like people who we just really admire, look up to, who've just had these really amazing journeys, you were one of the first people that we thought about. And so, in college, they don't teach us any of this shit. Like they're like, look, you're gonna graduate, get a degree, and everything's just gonna be linear, right?
Right.
And so, again, when we just thought about your journey, not only as a professional, but as a mom, we just wanted to share it and tell it and let people understand that like it's truly your formula is what works for you. Everybody, whether you believe in God or the universe or anything else, everybody has their own formula. And so, yeah, we just wanted to share that. So that's why we're here.
All right. I like it.
Are you in Oklahoma?
I'm in Guatemala.
Wow, that's right. You're still in Guatemala.
Oh, nice.
Right. You got to follow on the IG.
I know. I didn't know when you came back because I saw your suitcase.
I'm trying to see if I can get y'all a view. You can't really.
Oh,
look at you.
And we just,
over here.
We're just in Atlanta, like
in the 20-degree weather.
The wine is the best you can do.
Yeah, I'm headed back on Thursday.
Okay, cool. Nice. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for your encouragement and your motivation, right? When it comes to, thank you. It's so silly. When it comes to how women and mothers view remote work choices, I even looked at your content and say, okay, I'm back in the office now. What can I do to not be so in the office, even though it's a requirement for me to be in the office? Because I want some choice in that, right? Yeah. Your influence empowers women to think about how they want to create their lives. And you've been doing this for some time now. This started with Wandering Moms, right? Some years ago.
Yeah.
Right? And, women, mothers figuring out how to do things that work for them, balance their lives, raising their children, and things like that. You're a champion and you're a resource to, and I would say more than just women, more than mothers, but I think that's the audience that you serve. You've created this Work From Anywhere Wednesdays. I think that's the cutest thing, right? But it's letting people know I'm here. Here's some ideas, some strategies. I'm going to post information on how you can start to develop this life you want to create for yourself. Right. So really tell us, how are you doing all of this? Being a mom as well too, being an entrepreneur, having your job, still traveling, living this life. All of this.
I don't know. I've been asking myself the same thing. Honestly, I think that a lot of times we act like we don't have time to do stuff, but we spend a lot of time on social media. We spend a lot of time catching up on shows. We have way more time than we like to act like we have, especially when we're intentional with our time as well, right? The other thing, so I try to be very intentional with my time. I mean, Instagram gets me from time to time, like,
right.
And if a good show comes on, I'm definitely binge watching that thing. But, I try to be very intentional with my time. The second thing is I've given up on this idea that there's a day-to-day balance. Ain't no balance, not from a day-to-day basis. There's just basically a reallocation of your focus from over time, right? Like, you guys are parents, you guys are entrepreneurs, you guys have jobs. You understand that on any given day, something's going to get and need more of my focus and attention and time than something else. Right. I'm not going to be stellar at everything every day. I'm just not. Some days my daughter's not going to get attention from me because I have to put out fires at work. Right. I won't be able to do any of my entrepreneur stuff because there's a fire at the office. And you've got to get to the point where you're okay with that rebalancing and that reallocation over time. And you're giving yourself grace for that, because we cannot all do all the things. It's about priorities. And sometimes my job is a priority. Sometimes I'm a priority. Sometimes my daughter's a priority. It just depends on what's kind of going on. But yeah, it's being intentional and also accepting that it's just not all going to be 100% every single day. It's just not.
What you said about giving yourself grace is key. And I think, especially as women and as mothers, in relationships, being wives, whatever the case may be, we think we're superwoman. We think we have to do it all. And when we don't, or when we break down, or whatever the case may be, we don't give ourselves that grace to say, hey, I may not be 100% today, but that doesn't mean I wasn't yesterday. That doesn't mean I will never be again in the future. And I think we have to recondition ourselves to have that perspective, right? Yeah. And it talk a little bit about how we as women can do that. How can we condition ourselves beyond being just intentional? Because I think that's key as well too. Yeah. And my intentionality is a to-do list that may not work for everybody else, but how do we give ourselves that grace? How do we be able to function still in the midst of all that we have going on, all that we want to do, all that we need to do?
Yeah, I think so. For me, I'll tell you what grace looks like for me, because I'm addicted to being productive. And so a lot of times I'm beating myself up if I don't get things done. But one, realizing, accepting that if I cannot focus on getting work done, then my body is telling me something, right? My brain and my body are saying, Lib, I need a break. Like, you've been pushing hard. I know you really want to get these things done. And I know you really want to be focused. I'm not on that today. I'm on this couch. That's what I'm on, right? So accepting that your brain and your body knows what it needs. That's one. Two, a lot of times, I know for me, it's a challenge because I'll focus on all the things that I didn't do. And I have to bring myself back and be like, but I did do these things. Like, why am I so focused on what I didn't accomplish, what I missed, what I didn't get around to, what I'm late on, what I'm behind on? I did all these other things though, right? So a lot of times it's shifting the focus from the negative to the positive. And then I think the other piece is not being afraid to ask people for help as well, right? So, and that could be hiring help, or that could be asking a friend for help, or that could be just putting it out there, you're on Facebook, put it on Facebook. You're on Instagram, put it on Facebook. I'm really struggling with this thing. And you'd be surprised at how many people are willing to help you. I mentioned to somebody, because people had sent me some emails and I hadn't responded in a while. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I'm really having trouble staying on top of this inbox. And at least 4 or 5 people inboxed me and was like, listen, I can help you manage your emails if you want me to. And I would do that for free in exchange for all of the things that you're doing. So, don't be afraid to be vulnerable, honest, transparent about the struggles that you're having and ask for help, right? And at the end of the day, we cannot give people more than we give ourselves. If you're willing to give other people grace, why can't you give it to yourself? I deserve at least what I give other people. I deserve at the very least what I'm giving to other people.
I agree. What's your viewpoint on how we as women, as mothers, need to show up in the workplace, right? Because I find that that's the place that I don't give myself grace. When I give that to other people, like people on my team, maybe even my manager, because she's real busy. How do we show up in the workplace? How should we show up in the workplace? And what do you think the next few years is going to look like for women, for mothers in the workplace, especially as we look at this remote movement that you're the foundation of?
So how should moms show up in the workplace? I think how people in general, I'll add moms on top of that, should show up in the workplace is understanding, one, that you are a brand no matter what you do. Whether you're trying to be a brand or not, you have a brand at work. Now, that brand could be, Tasha always show up late, or Deborah, stay with an attitude. Deborah, stay with an attitude. Or she's the quiet one, but she gets work done. Or she's always going to ask really tough questions in meetings. Or me, my brand is I get stuff done. I get things done. So whether you're trying to be or not, you are a brand. And so I think being very, very focused and intentional on what do you want people to think about you, right? What is it you want people to think about you? Because your brand can buy and sell quite a few things at the office, right? So if you want to negotiate a flexible work arrangement, if your brand is that we trust you, we value you, you're a high performer, then it's more likely that you can convince them to let you work remotely. That's why I was able to convince my employer to let me work remotely. My first question when they asked me to come join was like, do you care where I work? And their response was, we know your work ethic. We have no problems with you doing that, right? So one, be very clear that you are a brand and you have no choice in that, right? You have no choice in the fact that you are a brand. You do have a choice in what that brand says. Absolutely. So choose to make sure it says something that's going to put you in a position to move forward or to negotiate what you want, be that a raise, a better position, a great project, things like that. The other thing I would say people should do to show up at work is I really want people to be more comfortable setting boundaries at work.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And showing people how to work with you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people assume that because someone sends you an email at 9 o'clock at night, you're supposed to respond. No, that's them sending an email when they felt like sending an email. Right. Maybe that person just happens to be very productive at night. I can get bursts of productivity at night. I do not expect anybody to respond to me at 9 o'clock at night. I expect you to respond to me when you are available to respond to me. So get out of this mindset that just because people are on their timeline, you need to be also on their timeline. Your boundaries are yours, and you teach people how to treat you at work and in personal life. So someone emails you at 9 o'clock, you respond to that email at 9 o'clock a.m. the next day. And I'm glad I learned this early in my career. I was just talking about this yesterday. I worked for a major big box retailer in their corporate office. And I worked in a group where a lot of people were trying so hard to get ahead, right? So they had that mentality, I got to always be available. I got to always be on. And there was one guy in the group who was older. He was a senior manager or director. And he was the go-to guy for data analytics. Like if you had questions, like he was your guy. And he was very well respected and wasn't going anywhere. He had job stability. But you know this, 5 o'clock, he's not answering your emails. He's not answering your calls. You cannot meet with him after 5 o'clock. It's not going down. Everybody knew it. You could be like, you should ask Arlen, and maybe like, don't ask him after 5 o'clock. He's not going to respond. Or don't go to his office. He's not going to be there. He's at his son's baseball practice. Set the boundaries. Set the boundaries and do the work. Like make sure you're showing up and adding value so that when you set boundaries, people respect them. Right. My belief is I don't do anything that saves babies or keeps buildings from burning down. Y'all don't need me after 9 o'clock. If I don't respond to your email right away, the world will not crumble. So set boundaries. And this is especially important for moms because when you're at home, you need to be present with your children. We don't get a whole lot of time with them. Right. In this life.
And the husband or the boyfriend or whoever the significant other is. She's
or you
blanket. Okay.
Or hell you.
Or for yourself.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Right.
So you need to set boundaries. So you've got the time for you, your spouse, your boyfriend, to find a boyfriend. Shoot.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So I believe people should set boundaries, be intentional about your brand, make sure you're adding value. And I think right now is a great time, especially for Black women, to lean into being authentic, being more authentic in the workplace. Absolutely. I will legit throw out some Jay-Z lyrics in the middle of a meeting. Like someone will say something, I'm like, real talk, that might be the move. And someone else will be like, what? I'll be like, seriously, I think that's a great strategy.
You got a code switch.
Seriously, I think that's a great strategy. But then I'll go back to, so like I said, real talk, that might be the move. I show up as myself at work. I'm a person that like code switches in regular life, depending on the topic of conversation.
Right. Yeah.
You get me back in Tallahassee.
Okay. On the heights of Seven Hills. Okay.
It's a whole different situation. But yeah, I think that moms, especially, it's so important for moms to make sure that they are standing their ground and that they've got those boundaries. I think the next thing I would tell people to do is show up to work with intention and strategy. Make sure you have a champion at work, someone that will help you get to where you need to be, whether that's at the company or somewhere else, And a champion basically is someone that will fight for you in rooms that you don't get invited to. Yeah. It's so important to have a champion at work. It's so important.
So going back to Tallahassee and the highest of Seven Hills, for people that may not know, you are a graduate of Florida A&M University. So yeah, it's pretty lit. So
I was also born and raised in Tallahassee.
Okay. That's right. Yes.
A local. No.
Yeah.
No dog.
So, so I meet, I have so many mentees that are like in college, graduating from college, young professionals. And so, again, like college was a phenomenal experience. Like I always say, fam taught me how to hustle. It showed me that there were people that look like you and I at the highest of highest levels. But, you know, college didn't teach me that this journey was going to be, man, I don't even know where to start, but just a seesaw in some respects. What I thought I'd be doing as a 21-year-old graduating from a FAMU is not, it is what I'm doing, but it's not what I'm doing. And how I got here, you couldn't have told me. Like somebody would have had to write a movie about it or something like that. So can you just take us from kind of like the beginning, maybe starting or graduating from college, and just the mentality of like what you thought life would be professionally and even personally, and where you are now?
Yeah, I can, sure. So when I graduated, this could be a really long story, man. When I graduated, I had a degree in finance, had an MBA in finance, and I had a daughter. So I had my daughter maybe my last year. So, you know, for those listening, if you don't know, FAMU has a 5-year MBA program. I don't think it's called that anymore. No, because it takes most people more than 5 years.
No, well, that's true.
Well,
So it's called the professional MBA program now. When I was there, it was called 5 years, and basically your last year, you're doing your grad school. So my last year in grad school, I had a little girl. So when I graduated, finance degree, how I saw my life going was I was going to move to Atlanta. I was moving to Atlanta to work for Deloitte, which was one of the big 4 accounting firms. I got the exact job that I wanted in the exact city I wanted to be in. So, you know, of course, next it was all about moving up that Deloitte ladder, finding a man, buying a house.
The American
That's
dream.
Typical
American
all those things. Yeah, all those things. And, you know, Deloitte, those
picket fence.
Yeah, dog and picket fence, right.
Yeah. And, you know, 2 vacations a year, maybe. Maybe.
I know, right?
I had to laugh at that.
Yeah. I love
and Deloitte has a specific, I guess, matriculation for finance people. So you start, I mean, actually for everybody, it's a consulting model. You start an associate, you move to senior, you move to manager, you move to senior manager, and then you move to director or partner. So it's an up and out model. And so my goal there was to maybe work in finance at Deloitte for 3-5 years, and then move over to commercial banking because they were making the big bucks. This was pre-housing bubble, of course, right before the housing bubble. That was the plan. I don't work in finance at all anymore.
Right.
More
than 2 vacations a year.
Right.
I also don't take 2 vacations a year. I'm probably out of the country 6 to 7 times.
And working too.
Yeah. And I took a group of people around the world for a whole year. So yeah, it definitely worked out differently. So I'm in project management. I work in project management for an IT company, an IT consulting company. I should say software consulting company. And because I can work from anywhere, I travel. Like right now, I am chatting with you guys from Guatemala, where I've been since last week, and I'll be here until about the end of this week. And then in a couple of weeks, I'm going to Colorado so my daughter can learn to ski. And after that, I may head over to Belize. So much for 2 vacations a year.
So I just want to ask you something, because, you know, I hear so many people say, you know, parents, single parents, women, dads, what have you, like, I wish I could do this, but I have my daughter, I have my son. And so one of the things that I love about your journey and your story is you're completely dispelling any myth, any excuse. Like I hear stuff and I'm like, well, look, my homegirl is doing this over here. And so again, everybody has a different journey, but for those that are looking at you like, oh, she's just an anomaly, you know, like I can't do what she does, I can't do what she did. Can you just, can you give, like, if you give 3 tips, what would those tips be for those people that want to be freer, want to be able to travel the world, want to be able to see things, but maybe unconsciously or consciously, they're putting obstacles in their way and feel like they can't even do it when they haven't started?
Yeah. So tip number 1, every time I make an assumption, I always ask myself, is it true? Like, what evidence do I have that it's true? Right. It's an assumption. Assumptions in general can be disproven. Like, what are you basing this on? Actually make that 0. Tip 0. Tip number 1 is, here's a way to dispel that myth real fast. I'm not an anomaly. Go to Wandering Moms on Facebook. There's over 22,000 moms in that group who love to travel with and without their kids. And I'm talking across the board of levels of their journey. So you've got moms in there that are just kind of starting out traveling. They may travel domestically a bit, right? They may travel just within their state or, travel from state to state. And then you've got the moms who, like me, pick up and go on a regular basis with their kids. And then you've got the families who have either moved abroad or they're just slow traveling around the world for however long they want to, indefinitely. So 22,000 moms. And we vet people, like, you have to prove that as much as we can, we vet people to come into that group. So all of these folks have children and they're doing it with their kids, and they're doing it at different levels. You've got people traveling. There's a few moms that basically live in RVs and they just travel the US in an RV. Wow. You've got moms who have moved to Thailand, moved to Mexico, I have one mom, she's got twins and she's special needs. And so are her twins. She has, I cannot remember what was the name of her illness, but she has to walk with a cane. She has to see doctors. She has to have doctors. But when I met her, she was living in Medellin, Colombia. And then she moved to Cape Town, South Africa. And now she's living in Portugal with her kids and a dog. And now they have a dog. So tip number one, like, get it out of your head that I'm an anomaly. 22,000 moms. And that's just in Wandering Moms. Those are just the women that have found Wandering Moms and joined the group. I'm not an anomaly at all. Two, I tell folks, like, we get stuck on things because we haven't figured out how to fix it or how to get there. It's just logistics. Like, having children does not ground you. Right. It's just figuring out how to get them from point A to point B. Every problem, every challenge has a solution, right? And sure, it's going to cost a little bit more money to travel with kids than it would by yourself, but it's not impossible at all. So planes seat multiple people, and they also seat children. Right. And the other thing is, people are like, well, where's a good place for kids to go? Do kids live there? If kids live there, kids can go there. Like, there is not a place I can think of that's not okay for kids to go. Right. Those places are the places I wouldn't go, like North Korea. I'm not going there either. Period. Personally, not going to North Korea. So, people always ask me that, well, where would you take kids? I would take my kid pretty much anywhere. If children live there, children can go there, is pretty much how I feel about it. So it's really just a matter of joining those groups will also open your eyes to all of the ways that you can save money as well on travel. So all of the travel deal websites, all of the travel hacks, all of those kinds of things will be super helpful for you. So it's just a thing that you've got to figure out. The other thing is, we have got to stop subscribing to the idea that having kids kills our dreams. My daughter and I were watching The Voice. Y'all like The Voice? I love that show. Yeah. There is literally always someone on that show. Every single season, there's someone on that show that says, my parent had this dream to be a singer, and they had to put their dream aside because they had me. And I remember my daughter and I looked at each other like, that's fucked up. You just called your kid a dream killer. You basically told your kid they're a dream killer. And so for me, it's not a matter of, I can't do this thing because I have a child. It's, I must do this thing because I have a child. I need to show her by example that her world and her possibilities are limitless. I need to show her that, because we tell our kids all kinds of stuff, but like, it's so much better if we show them, right? You can do and be anything. Don't we tell kids that? You can do anything you dream of. You can make anything happen, and then we don't do it. So for me, it's let's shift our mind frame from I can't do it because I have kids to I must do it because I have kids. And you're not only teaching your kids that these things are attainable, you're also teaching your children lessons they will never learn in school. Never. Right? Or lessons that they will learn even deeper. My daughter is such a compassionate person because she's been able to be in situations where she's the only person that doesn't speak English, right? Or she's been the odd man out. She's been the one that no one understands and no one gets. She's been the one walking in the mall and everyone's staring at her because she's the only Black girl in the whole city, right? So she's so compassionate because of that. And just the idea that one of the things I wanted her to learn is she belongs everywhere. There's not a place in this world that you don't belong. I want you to own your space everywhere. There's just so many things that you cannot necessarily learn in school And to add on that, I mean, it's one thing to learn about the pyramids from a book. It's a whole nother thing to be like, oh, there's a pyramid right there.
Right
there.
You
see those pyramids? Right. So yeah, so many reasons, but it's really just the mindset. And it's easier to get over the mindset when you are in a tribe and a community of people that are doing this thing, because the people around you will discourage you.
Yes.
Don't take your kid over there.
Yes.
Somebody told me I was going to Dubai with my daughter and they were like, they're going to sell her into sex slavery. Whoa. You know that could happen in the US, right?
Right. Yeah.
Right
in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Right in the A, folks.
It's happening.
Like,
of course
y'all are wilding out. Y'all are wilding out. But people around you will put their fear on you because they don't know, right? We fear the things that we don't know and we don't.
Or they're haters.
But you don't have to RSVP to anybody else's fear. You just do not, right? You do not have to show up for anybody else's fear. So immersing yourself in a community of people that are doing those things can give you a lot more confidence, but can also give you a lot more education and information too.
Right.
That was a long answer. I'm so sorry.
No, that's great. One of the things I found very fascinating. So I've been based in essence working from home since 2004, since I just decided to just, bet on myself. So this whole remotely working from home thing is just like, okay, it just is what it is. Like it was cheaper. It didn't make sense to have an office. So I was just working from home. You go meet somebody at Starbucks or whatever, and it just worked. I pay attention to everything that you do. So like I saw how your following just grew exponentially in 2020 and post 2020, when everybody got a taste of what it was like to work remotely, to the point nobody wanted to go back into the office. And now all of a sudden you're basically a prophet in some respects, when you've been doing right.
I've been telling y'all about this.
I've been here.
Like y'all weren't listening to me.
Oh, you weren't. But what is that like? I don't want to say to be proven right, but just to be like, okay, people are finally, like, more people, I should say, are finally like understanding what I've been saying, and they're getting it, and they know that it's possible because they got a taste of it, and here's somebody that has credibility. Because of course, like in 2020, a lot of experts popped up out of nowhere, and people are telling you and saying, what's my the relationship guy who got caught cheating? Derek. Yeah. So I mean, you have a lot of those people that are like, in their false prophets in their cars saying, look, you need to do this, when they're not necessarily walking in the same path, but you are. So what is that? Has it been gratifying for people to be like, oh, okay, this works?
Yes.
Absolutely. It's been so great because it's almost like I was in a room at a podium, an empty room at a podium, shouting, do this thing, y'all, do this thing with me. Right. And people were just walking by looking in like, who is that crazy lady? But now that people are seeing that, people are, piling into the auditorium. And I'm actually talking to people who understand that it's truly possible, and they're very willing to do what's necessary to get some flexibility into their life. It's super exciting because it's such a lifestyle upgrade, in my opinion. It's not for everybody. Don't get me wrong. Some people need to go to the office. Yeah. Listen, if you can't show up to your computer on time, if you can't turn in your TPS report without, being in that environment, please take your ass to work. Please take your ass to the office. Please go to the office. So, it's not for everybody, but for the people that it's for, it's truly a lifestyle upgrade. And I just think, especially for moms, and you mentioned earlier, my main focus is moms. I'm here to help anybody. Right. I'm here to help anybody. I believe I'm purposely serving moms though, right? Because it's such an unlock for our abilities to be there for our families. I think about when I was at Home Depot in their corporate office, racing the clock after work. 5 o'clock hits, I have literally got to be already going out of the parking lot by 5. Like I used to time it. I had to be leaving my desk at 4:50 to get to my car at 5, to get out of the parking lot, to get home to pick her up. I'm sorry, to aftercare to pick her up. And then we would have to rush back home so she could change in her soccer gear, get to soccer practice, get back home, do homework, eat, bathe, get into bed. When do I actually spend time with you?
Right.
I am just racing the clock so that we can do this all over again tomorrow. And I came to pick her up late, like 3 times, and got kicked out of aftercare.
Oh, they don't play.
I was like, it's clear I need this.
Charge a whole lot of money, or they're gonna, so it's a
I was like, it's clear I need this. Why are you kicking me out? So yeah, I mean, it's such a lifestyle upgrade. When I started working from home and I was home when my daughter got home from school, game changer.
Yeah.
So now she can ride the bus instead of me picking her up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, it was an hour commute. Instead of me picking her up at 6 o'clock, she can come home on the bus at 3:30. So we get a whole extra 2 hours to our day. Right. So she could come home and she could eat. We could hang out and play. She could go outside. We could do homework. And it was such a huge difference in her sleeping habits, huge difference in her behavior at school. So it's a lifestyle unlock in that, you get to be in a more comfortable environment. You get to, work from Guatemala. But for moms especially, it just makes it gives us a better opportunity for showing up for our families the way that we choose to do so. Right.
So this is going to be the final question. If you could tell somebody, like, how did you discover your formula, and how would you encourage others to find basically their formula or their voice, or follow their path or their goal or their purpose?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Honestly, I'm a sharing person by nature. I like to share things. If I learn something new or I stumble upon something cool, I like to share it. And so that's kind of how I found what I'm supposed to be doing or what makes me happy to do. And that could be anything from travel to just getting more freedom in your life. I like to share that kind of stuff because that's what I want for my own life. How would I recommend other people find their formula? Oh man, I feel like that's a tough question for me to answer. I feel like I've stumbled upon a few. So maybe I'll say that.
And that's fine.
It's okay to try things out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I've tried out several things. Y'all, I had a hair care business. Yeah. I tried to have a t-shirt business. I've tried so many things. And I think a lot of us are so afraid to fail that we don't want to try something. Right. And for me, I embrace failure, right? If this didn't work out, then I can either pivot, but I can learn something from this and do something different. Right. And so I would recommend that people just get out there and try stuff and be okay with failing. And every time you think the word fail, switch it to learn, right? Yeah. Because people say, I'm afraid to fail. Are you afraid to learn? Because that's what I hear when I hear I'm afraid to fail, or failing is not an option. I hear learning is not an option. Right. So I think that's one of the big things. Just kind of lean into the things that feel right to you. And the things, whatever it is you've been thinking about every day for the last 3 months, 6 months, just try it. You don't have to know everything to start. Most of the stuff you're going to learn after you start and fall a few times. Right. So I did a whole talk on
charm. Right.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, just be okay. Like, we're just not going to make it through this life.
Right.
We are not going to make it through this life without failure, without heartbreak, without disappointment. We're just not. There's no way to do it. There's no way to get out of this thing without experiencing those things. Right. So just go ahead and accept that it might happen, and you've been able to cope with it up to now.
Yeah. Amen.
So if you feel at the next thing, guess what? You'll get over that too,
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you have anything.
I have something personal that I would like to say. So every time that I'm in Instagram, because of course I haven't seen you in forever, but your face comes across, I have this fond memory of you. 2013, when you invited me to lunch. Remember we went to Pepe's? I think that's what it was. Poppy. Yeah. I always think about that and how much that time we shared over lunch left an impression on me. I was like, this is my sister. She's just here. She's just listening. She's comforting me. And we laughed. And that's what I think about when I see your face. So and that was an amazing time. So I'm saying all that to say you are impacting people in various ways. You impacted me in a way that was different than what you're doing now. But I thank you for those moments. And I'm pretty sure there's other people that are thinking the same thing too, with the content that you share. Keep doing what you're doing. Your reach is growing. And you have people out here that are really listening. I really appreciate
oh my God, I appreciate that. So next time I'm in Atlanta, we got to go to lunch.
Yes.
Oh my God.
No.
Can I get in on this?
You can drive us. He's my chauffeur.
I am her chauffeur. I'm like,
hilarious.
Daisy, how you doing this, Daisy?
Yes, let's do that. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you.
That's dope.
I really appreciate that. I feel similarly, and I will tell you offline about how you've inspired me, but trust and believe you have. I think about you often. Girl, all the time. And I'm so, it always makes me so happy to see you happy and to see you living life and to see you having a good time, to see you in love, to see you, it's just, if I'm about to start crying, it feels so good to see it. It always does every single time. You see my nose turning red.
Yeah. And it feels good too. Okay.
Yeah, it feels so good. So yeah, we can talk in detail when I come to
you. Yeah. He needs his credit. Thank you for taking care of my friends. I guess I could dedicate that to both of you. Thank you for taking care of my friend.
Yes. Yeah, no, she and goodness, she deserves it. I mean, sometimes in life it's not about what you deserve, it's about sometimes what you get. But God has put her in my life so many times. I officially will just say the third time, and I'm just glad I was smart enough to understand. So one of the words that you used was intentionality. And so, people always ask like, hey, what's the difference between, this time and the other times? One, her, the other part of it was just intentionality. And I remember my mom telling me over the holidays, she was like, I stopped worrying about you when Michelle came back into your life. She's like, I was always worried about you until this woman came back into your life. And because she's just we've all been in relationships before, and and sometimes it didn't work out, and that doesn't mean that person wasn't bad. You could have a good woman or good man, they still not be for you, right? For whatever. But is that she's just always loved me since college in just a way that nobody else has. And so on my end, it just took me, I had to grow. To your point, I had to fail. I had to fuck up. I had to be hurt. So I think God was taking me through these processes. So when she came back at the time when I needed her and she needed me, we both knew how to handle this, in particular, myself. And so, that's why we're here. I mean, we thank you because you're our first interview. You are our first interview.
Thank you.
And we sat. Because we were like, look, we want to get somebody that we're familiar with, but at the same token, we didn't want people to be like, oh, that's just their home girl. So we were like, okay, she
has credibility.
Right. She is a homie.
Right.
I am the homie. Let's be clear.
Right. However, she's dope as fuck. Yeah. So we just, thank God.
I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Right. And so we're thankful because, one of the things is you talk about building a brand, like, we're just steadily trying to, I hate the word trying, but working on building this brand. And we took a break to kind of just figure out, like, what do we really want this to be? And so we just want to not only share our stories, but those stories of people like yourself. And so just keep doing what you're doing. I'm just amazed at how you've been able to do what you do and still raise and build your daughter with the fierceness and independence and the caring that you said that she has. And I think that's indicative of who you are. Tell your mama I said hello, because I met your mama homecoming. Tell mama, what's up. She was real cool. I thought that was a cool moment because me and my line brother Quincy were like, okay, that's why you are the way you are, because of mom.
Quincy knows my mom, I think. Quincy knows my mom through Bobby, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I think he's met her before.
We were like, okay, that's dope. So we thank you for this opportunity, because for us, this is a big deal. Seriously, this is a big deal. Awesome. And this will just go in the record books for you as one of your interviews. But for us, this is a really big deal. So
stop playing.
I'm serious.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate being here. Thanks for inviting me. You guys have excellent energy. Y'all just make me feel so good every time I see you online. It's just happy, fun. Not saying that like the happiness is like a facade. There's not.
No.
I tell people all the time, like, finding a relationship is not a cure for sadness, heartbreak.
Right. She get on my nerves, but I don't get on my nerves.
You get on my
but I think
I love the energy is all I'm really trying to say. And so I really appreciate you guys bringing me into the fold. And maybe some of this good juju will rub off on me. And I will.
Tell Pablo we said what up.
Pablo's gone, man. He went back to He went back to Antigua and he's headed to Italy. I do have a driver waiting for me to take me to the market to buy food.
Do your thing, take it to the market. That's how you end it. And on that note, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Love you.
All right, love you too. Peace out.
Bye.
Thank you guys. Have a good night. We love you too. I mean, I love you too.
All right,
That was weird. Bye, y'all.
Later.
That was good, man.